Hi everyone, editing in Excel and Express Business Valuation. One of the most important features you can have in any piece of business valuation software is the ability to have flexibility and deal with the facts and circumstances of the engagement at hand. Our ability to go into native Excel and modify it and customize it is exactly that process. Let me show you how that works. We have an icon up on top here with a green X. I can click on it. I can also come over here to Edit and choose the Edit directly in Excel. When that occurs, I get pushed out to Microsoft Excel. You can tell inside of Microsoft Excel that we have some private data up here on top and some private data over here on the side. We use that information inside of the software to say here are intermediate calculations, here are things that we need to have to make the program work. You can tell in row 5 we have a bunch of ones up on side of here. This is our pre-display functionality. In column 5 or column E we have the same thing. If there is a 1 inside of that column, let me erase these. If there's a 1 inside of that row header, it will display that row. If there's a 0 inside of that row header, it will hide that row. Now we don't delete things inside of Microsoft Excel because there are further schedules down the line that will get a pound ref if you delete out a dependency. But we can hide that information and we can say if this is hidden, don't add it up. In this case here, if I wanted to come out to Microsoft Excel and make some modifications, I could. I just need to know a couple of things. The first is don't mess with the private data. The second is make sure I have my pre-displays in place. And the third is that when I'm trying to edit the financial statements inside of Express Business Valuation, I need to recognize that those are occurring on about 10 different sheets. And it's easier to not insert rows on those financial statements because I would have to insert those same rows on the other 10 sheets and make sure the formulas work on the other sheets. So EBV is not built to have the financial statements edited inside of Excel. You can certainly change the format, that's not a problem. You can go in and change the labels if you don't like the labels. However, make sure that you're not changing the architecture of those financial statements or you'll corrupt the project. So let's do a couple of things out here inside of Excel and I'll show you exactly the types of things that you can do. So I highlighted a little range here. If I want to change the format of that, I can come over here to my home screen and I can put in dollar signs and it will make all of that show up with dollar signs. And I can certainly do that. If I want to change the format of a particular label, if I want to make it bold, I can do that. Those changes that I've made will stick, and when I come back into the project, I press return up here. I'll get to that in a minute, and those changes will stick. I can also insert rows or columns if I want to. In this case here, this is discussing the economic benefit stream. So if I come over here and I want to insert a row on this, remember it's not the financial statement, it's a different schedule. I can insert my row and say here. So after I've inserted my row, I will come over to my column header, I'll put a 1 in there and say please show this row. And then I can type in the particular item that I'm trying to highlight. In this case here I'll type in compensation. And let's say that we need to decrease it by $25,000. Now typically people would do this in the normalization process. But if I wanted to highlight this, I could put that in there and type my numbers across the top. I'm then going to have to come down and deal with the total. And the total is right here. Since I added that row, I'm going to have to put in a plus sign and say add that particular number there. And in this case here, I'm going to have to say, plus that particular number here. And I can copy that across for the rest of the values. When I click on the return button, and the return item is up here, I'll come back into the project. We'll do that in a minute, but what I want to show you first is these two items here. When I drop sheet down, I get show all cells, show the same as EBV, and show headers. When I click on show all cells, I'm going to see all of the cells inside of that are available to edit inside of the native Excel workbook. If I go sheet, show the same as EBV, it's going to display what I see inside of the project. And this is exactly what I want to see. Compensation showing up here. I'm reducing it by $25,000. If I go, sometimes the A, B's, and C's and the 1s, 2s, and 3s over here won't show. So I go Sheet, Show Headers, and it will do that. The workbook does exactly the same thing, but instead of working on just the worksheet tab I'm on, it will handle all of the sheets inside of the workbook. So sometimes when I'm editing in Excel and I need to see where different pieces are, I'll come out to Excel and I'll say Show All Cells on the workbook, and that will put all of those in place. The last item is the return. When I get done editing in Excel, I click on Return, and it will bring me back into the project. And you can tell that my sheet here has been maximized, so I'm going to click on my Snap To, and that will give me the working pane and the navigator in the normal format that I'm used to seeing. And you can tell that the changes I've made inside of Excel exist, and I can bring things forward that way. That covers how to edit in Microsoft Excel.